Good morning. My name is Daniel Foley. I'm a student in Dr. Van Cleve's Early American History class, and I'm just want to present my essay material. I chose as my topic a study of the rice plantations in the South Carolina and Georgia regions of the United States, a study that took place in the antebellum period and that went up to about the 1900s. I've always been interested in rice planting and rice production, and I've done some reading on it. And one of the best books that I've read is one by William Dusenberry called Them Dark Days. And in this book, Mr. Dusenberry portrays the conditions that the black laborers had to live with in the swamps. He talks about the early death rate. He talks about the high death rate among infants, and he talks about all the diseases, and he talks about all of the tragedies that these people had to bear. And it's a very important part of the plantation system. It's one that we're somewhat familiar with, and it certainly is an indictment of slavery. Another very good book is by Mark A. Stewart, and this concerns the physical building of the rice plantations in the lowlands. And he describes how the swamplands were actually converted to rice plantations, and how the water was used for irrigation purposes, how the ditches were maintained, and how the brine water was mixed with the salt water and with the fresh water to just get the right nutrients to the rice. And his book, of course, has to intersect with slavery because, again, it was all black laborers that did all this work. But he talks more about how they worked in concert with nature and to convert these very dark and dismal swamplands to productive rice lands. Another book by Daniel C. Littlefield takes another turn here, and he talks about how the enslaved black laborers that lived and worked in the Carolina coast, how these peoples whose backgrounds were in Africa, these people had already been immersed into the rice culture. And for centuries, they've been growing rice in Africa. And for centuries, they've been using this as a very productive source of agriculture for their own consumption and for trade. And he contends that when these folks came over here and they were forced to work on the rice plantations, they transferred their knowledge, their expertise to the plantation owners. And in fact, it was their foundation of knowledge that helped to really build up these rice plantations. English settlers and plantation owners and white people on the Carolina coast, in and of themselves, did not have the knowledge to do what these black Americans did. And in fact, Littlefield contends that if it were not for these people, these black African Americans, and their previous experiences with rice, that the planters would have failed entirely in trying to produce this very profitable crop. Long grain rice was a very sought after staple in Europe. It commanded a very good price, and it made many planters very wealthy in the antebellum era. So again, Littlefield says that he believes that the planters can really have to thank for this the people that were forced to work on the plantations. One thing I've learned about studies like this is that historians don't necessarily have to disagree with each other on a subject. And they don't always have to have a counter argument. That in a subject such as rice plantations, there's very many aspects to it and layers to it. And it's like peeling back an onion. The more layers you peel back, the more that you learn and the more areas of interest that you experience. So one myth that Littlefield somewhat destroys is that the black African Americans provided only the labor to work at these plantations, and that was a myth that was perpetuated for many years in our nation. But Littlefield contends that it's not true. It's not true at all. That these people actually were the foundation of these rice plantations, and it was through their knowledge, their work, their sacrifice that rice plantations became what they were in the antebellum period. And of course, in the late 1800s, the plantations collapsed from foreign competition, domestic competition, and the switch from slave labor to free labor. So I found this to be a most interesting topic. And with that, I see that my time is up, and I'll sign off and wish everybody a happy holiday and see you later. Thank you.